Hi everyone. This is a Hacking for Security podcast, and today with you, as usual, your host Alex, and today our guest Mike Takahashi. Mike is a penetration tester, bug bounty hunter, and part of AI Red Team. How are you, Mike, today?
Hi, Alex. How's it going? I'm doing very well this morning.
Oh, yeah, it's good on my side as well. Just curious, where are you from? Aren't you from Japan or something?
I actually used to live in Japan when I was younger. I'm born in Japan and I live in the States now. So I used to live on the East Coast, but I've since in the last 10 years I've been working on the West Coast. Right now I'm in like San Francisco Bay Area.
Uh, okay, we'll get back to this a bit later, but why did you choose to move from East Coast to West Coast, by the way?
I mean
Is
The West Coast is better in my opinion. Uh, It's nicer. It's more relaxed. The weather's really nice. There's a lot of good like tech companies here. That's the big draw for me. It's a fun place to live.
so the main reason was a job, or you just moved to find
Yes,
yourself?
it was for a job.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's start. And as usual, we gonna start from your background. So could you share us a bit about yourself, how you started your IT journey, security journey, and etc. Yeah.
Sure, thank you. So I've always been into hacking. I've always been into computers ever since I was very young, and I always, whenever they said, "Oh, this computer can't do this. This software can't do this," I always wanted to break that. I always wanted to bypass that. So that's always been part of my personality since I was young. And then later on, as I got older, I started in networking and IT management. So not I didn't start in security. And then from there, I moved. So that was I would set up networks for like army training exercises. So we would go to different locations and set up these networks. And then I think that gave me a good baseline understanding of Linux operating systems, servers, networks, that sort of thing. And then I moved into more security roles. So I was at Stanford University working on their security team. That was my first full time security role. And that was also around the time where I started Bug Bounty. So, Bug Bounty, I always tell people this that are looking into getting into cybersecurity that Bug Bounty is a good way to prove that you can hack, that you have some sort of skills because you don't need anything to start doing Bug Bounty. You can just start immediately. So yeah, I did a lot of bug bounty back then, and then that helped me get my foot in the door into cybersecurity. Uh,
I see. So you started as a system administrator or something. Do you remember that a training tool which calls Packet Tracer from Cisco Academy or something?
yeah, that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, all day Cisco switches,
Yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah,
we have a lot of students in our community, and they still starting learning networking by Cisco Packet Tracer so far. So that's cool. Like something never changed, never
yeah. I
changed.
guess networks are just networks.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. Do you remember? Do you remember when you started in bug bounties? Like when it was, and what was your first bug bounty program platform? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, that's a long time ago. I mean, it's like over 10 years ago.
Even before the hacker one or not?
Yeah, I did. No, it wasn't before HackerOne. So it was HackerOne and BugCrowd were around. I started with BugCrowd. I don't remember the program. I think it was like a VDP or something. I didn't even know how to hack at first. I literally knew nothing. I would just go to look at the program scope, start looking at one of, like the main website. and I would just type random things into forms and just try random stuff and see weird error messages. I knew nothing. And then each time I saw something I didn't understand, like, oh, this is weird behavior, I would go Google it, do
Yeah.
research, come back, and I would just do that 1,000 times, and then eventually I started getting real vulnerabilities. I got more into like reconnaissance and then learning like the different like vulnerability classes. And then I think the program that I spent the most time on early on was Alibaba. So Alibaba has a lot of bug bounty hunters don't even know, but they have a really really big bug bounty program because it covers their entire
Yeah.
infrastructure.
One of the largest scope, actually.
I think it
I'm not
might
sure, but
actually be
yeah,
the biggest. Like if you count the number of servers and domains and
yeah,
subdomains, like it's so big. So that's a fun program to work on if you like reconnaissance.
yeah. I remember that they had just a VDP before, and now they pay bounties as well, if I'm
Hmm.
not wrong. But yeah, they it was a good starting point for a lot of security researchers because you can like train yourself on a VDP by Alibaba and get some private invitation from HackerOne for any other bug bounty programs,
Exactly.
private one. Yeah. So do you remember your first payout? How big it was?
It was probably like $100 or something. I was so excited though. The first one, like it was some I don't remember. It was like something I wouldn't even submit now. Like it's such a low, like a P4, like low level vulnerability. Uh, yeah, I was so excited by any small bugs. I think cross-site scripting was the one that I got most into at first, like cross-site scripting and open redirects. So a lot of my early bugs were cross-site scripting.
And what do you think? How bug bounty platforms evolve from those times?
I think it's more competitive now, but there's also more programs. Um, I think also a lot of companies are using libraries that prevent certain types of vulnerabilities. So you have to look differently at the applications. Um, I feel like there's certain things that the industry hasn't solved yet, like access control vulnerabilities, IDORs, that sort of thing. Like they're hard to scan and detect
Yeah.
automatically, and they're hard to eliminate with a library. I mean, I'm sure that you can do it, but it seems like companies have a problem with that. So I feel like those have not changed at all. But things like cross-site scripting, open redirects, it's a couple of vulnerability types that there's less of now, but they're still definitely out there.
Yeah, definitely. Especially business logic issues and etc.
Yes,
Uh, yeah. Do you do bug bounty even now, or you post your
I do. Like
vulnerability?
I do pen testing with a consulting firm, and then I also do bug bounty. Um, Yeah, right. So actually, right now in the last, I would say 2 months, I've switched 100% to AI bug bounties. So they're not traditional web vulnerability type bug bounties. They're like essentially a form of AI red teaming with a focus on safety and like guardrail bypasses, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned it in your Twitter X handle, and I'm really curious. What does it mean, AI red team? So basically, you're trying to test AI agents, or it's kind of AI automation of security tooling, or what is that? How it looks like at all?
It, I would say all of the above is included. So the area I focused on, so I first started getting introduced to it in DEFCON. So I went to DEFCON this year, and they had their AI village had a thing called, I think it was called Generative Red Team Number 2. So last year there was a competition where everyone just had it was like a CTF, and
Mhm.
basically try to jailbreak all these LLMs. So you would try to make the LLM like say a lie, or try to make the LLM pretend it's like a lawyer or something, uh, like things
Yeah.
that basically like the company doesn't want the model to do. So that was last year. This year they took a different approach, and it was more open ended. They basically said, um, here's the I think it's called the model card. This is what the model is supposed to do, and if you can deviate from this, then we will pay you a bounty. And it was actually run by the bounty part of it was run by Bug Crowd. So that was like a
Mhm.
live event for over a couple days, and then me and my friend Dustin, we spent basically 48 hours on it because it was so fun. It was just different. It was not like your typical like web pen test sort of thing. It was a totally new game, but it's still like a form of hacking. They're still saying
Yeah.
you can't do this, but if you can, we'll pay you. You know, like it's not designed to do this, but if you can bypass our design, then we'll pay you. So. Um, yeah, it's fun. You're just talking to these LLMs. You can use like automated tools to sort of like fuzz them or because they're like probabilistic models, they don't always repeat the same thing over and over again. So sometimes you want to run the same request like 100 times to see like how it deviates or how it
Hmm.
varies. And then you have to write some sort of detection on the output to say, okay, how bad is this output? Like, is this output bad or is this like what the model wants to do? You have to like kind of grade your own responses.
So it looks like a prompt engineering to bypass, I don't know, logic of the AI or LLM tool. Or yeah, it's really interesting topic, but I never seen that it's that company looking for something like that. I was supposed to think that it's more like a CDF, as you mentioned at the beginning. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
okay. Let's make it for fun and see how it may work in the end. But so
yeah.
yeah, just curious. So we have a bug bounty on a bug crowd who paying for bugs like that. It's an OpenAI bounty program or somebody
So
else.
yeah, so the DEFCON one that was like a limited time thing at DEFCON. So now so that was I would say that was early on, and this is pretty new. This is like a new area for bug bounty. Traditionally, it's been like these sort of closed programs. Like so, OpenAI has like a external AI red team program, but you have to get invited in. And
Uh huh.
I don't know if they do it on a bug bounty program. I think it's like their own self-hosted thing.
Enter. Uh huh.
But there are two programs that I've been working on recently that are available widely. So Mozilla has a program called Odin, and they will basically you can look at the scope on the website, but basically anything AI red team related, they pretty much will accept for any model. So or any of the models that they cover. So which is basically all the popular ones. So OpenAI, Gemini, Meta, um, Anthropic, Claude. Um,
I
yeah,
see.
so it's really cool. So they're like it's like vulnerability disclosure program kind of. So like you send them a vulnerability and they assess it and then they will talk to the vendor.
Oh, I see. Ah, okay, okay. They work as a mediator between hackers, researchers, and companies. That's cool. So you mentioned that you had a topic this year on a black hat. Is Was it a public talk or it was not recorded?
Oh no, I didn't have a talk at Black Hat. No, the,
Uh, yeah,
so
yeah, you mentioned that this year you had a or a DefCon or something or whatever.
no, there's like the AI red teaming competition at
Oh
DEFCON.
yeah. Okay. 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 I see. Okay, could you share any examples of maybe some interesting findings you discovered during uh, AI red team bug bounty hunt? How the submission looks like? You need to provide a proof of concept or or what or prompt or what?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So okay, so for the DEF CON one, I think I basically made it produce like a bunch of different like snippets of like malware code and like different payloads and things that basically it could use to hack. Um, so I think I produced like 100 different variations basically, but I basically tried to cover every type of class of attack that I could think of, and then have it, and then basically use the same type of jailbreak prompt to produce all those things.
Yeah, so the goal was to force the AI provide you a working exploit or malware.
Yeah,
Well,
and it seems
wow.
like something that I've been trying to explain to people, because it kind of seems, when you look at it, it doesn't seem that big a deal, because it's like, oh, I could Google it or I can figure it
No,
out,
no, no.
right?
I totally understand you. I remember the ChatGPT 2 years old from now,
Yeah,
yeah, and it was totally different from what it is right now.
yeah,
Like I remember at the very beginning, I was able to get XSS passes or something for my payloads just by asking him to give me some tips or help or something, yeah. And now it's really hard because they have a lot of protection to, because I even heard the stories where bad players used ChatGPT or OpenAI to craft malware or something and hack the organization, yeah, and it's still a responsibility of on them, and that's why they are trying to mitigate it somehow, yeah, to because if someone will ask ChatGPT how to craft the bomb and the human will do that and use it, it will be very bad for OpenAI reputation, definitely. So yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, they've definitely, like, when I remember when ChatGPT first came out, like you said, it was very easy. Like, you could ask it anything and it would
Yeah,
do it. It's so right now most of the frontier models like OpenAI and all the big players, they have multiple layers of moderation. So they have like a moderation LLM that is looking at every input that you put in, and it will see, it will go through obfuscation, it will translate languages, it will see through whatever tricks that you're trying to use,
yeah,
because it's also an LLM. And then they also do the same on the output. So they're like, there's another model of some sort that's looking at the output. So some of these models, it will start streaming the response, but if there's something bad, it'll cut it off. Like, it'll cut itself
yeah.
off and say like, oh, actually, I can't say that. But
Actually,
like, you
yeah.
kind of already did it.
Damn, I remember the funny story when the Google released their LLM model for Google search. Do you remember it? The first version, like
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
half a year ago, and it was trained on the popular Reddit threads. And the first answer, if you would ask Google search how to deal with depression, the first answer was like a jump from San Francisco or from Golden Gate Bridge. And
Yeah.
this is because the people in Reddit use a lot of sarcasm, yeah, and it was most like an answer there. So Google just paused it fully for a few more weeks just because it was really bad in terms of answers by AI tool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. So now you focusing only on AI or anything else? Do you do general security consulting? Do you work in any company, by the way, at that moment, which you
Yeah,
can?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, my full-time role is, I'm like a director of security engineering,
I
uh,
see.
I also do consulting at a pen testing company.
Mhm. So bounty hunting is more like a hobby for you.
Yeah, I think it's important to stay sharp and stay technical. So it's, to me, it's super important. I mean, it's also for fun. Like, it's so fun, I can't stop doing
Yeah.
it. But I think even in leadership roles, you have to stay technical. So, and I think that offensive security is the best kind of security for me. If you can understand an attacker and how an attacker looks at your organization, your infrastructure, that's such a good starting point to defend it.
Yeah, definitely. You need to have hands-on experience because so many things changing. Yeah, every year. Like even 2 years ago, we didn't have LLM models at all such
Oh
popular
yeah.
like they are right now. So yeah. uh, and Mm, have you ever? Okay, I mean, we first of all we are Web3 security podcast, and secondly security podcast as it is. So, just curious, have you ever tried to find the security issues in Web3 products in a blockchain or something?
I have not. I whenever I see people post about it, it's always like sounds really exciting and fun. I've never taken the dive to learn it, but it looks really interesting.
Yeah, because many people still think that it's kind of scam. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course, we have a lot of scam in bug bounty. Unfortunately, yeah, sometimes it happens that company just don't want to pay you, but it's still a really funny industry. I don't know another industry where you can have so much fun. Maybe I, who knows?
yeah. What's the how like for bug bounty hunters? Like, what's the difference? Like, how do people see it? Because it does seem like its own niche in bug bounty. Like, how does it? I don't know. What's your outlook on it?
Uh, I do believe that Web3 bug bounties got their own island on a security market right now. Like we have a bug bounty platforms very popular, yeah, like HackerOne, Bugcrowd, Integrity, and they are not really focused in Web3 products. I don't know, maybe it's a problem of compliance or something, or they just
Mm-hmm.
don't want to deal with them. But on the other side, we have a Web3 bug bounty platforms focused just on the Web3 projects, like Immunify, HackerOne, of course, Hacking Proof, of course, and few more. The difference is, I don't know, like people like in Web3, people really like to say that they are smart contract auditors or something, but from my personal background, I'm from general security, yeah, so it's mostly a code review actually, because you are really looking for vulnerabilities in code after the development team, yeah, so it's like a programs focused on a code review, but mostly. And of course there is a kind of front end issues as well, because in web3, like you have a closest way to user assets basically, because yeah, you have your wallet in your browser, and if you connected it to the website, the and website was vulnerable to something, or somebody hosted a malicious javascript code on that, your assets can be stolen just in one click. And basically we yeah the most of bounty hunters focus it on code review, but we still need to have a to take seriously a web side of that, like XSS vulnerabilities like open redirects and etc. So it's basically a good area for anyone. Like even if the user people or bug bounty hunters don't think like, okay, I don't know how to find an issue in code, there is still a lot of bounties in web applications which also need to be discovered and can be really well paid. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool because there's not a lot of bug bounty programs where you can read the code that are like white box. Like it's kind of rare. I feel like there's like the WordPress bug bounty program, and there's like some other ones, some open source ones. But I feel like most programs you don't get access to source code, so that's like that does make it more attractive if you can read code. Like that's a good. That sounds like a good program to work on.
Yeah, this is one of the interesting things that in blockchain actually the code is in most of cases is publicly available. Yeah, because you can't hide it. Yeah, you can somehow hide it without verification or something like that, but still all smart contracts are publicly available, and usually organization publish it on a git even on a GitHub just for easier access to the code, because better to find it during the bug bounties and somebody else will exploit it or hack you or steal all your assets or assets of your users. So yeah. And yes, HackerOne have several programs focused on open source vulnerabilities, but it's mostly VDP programs. Probably, I'm not sure. Not sure. Haven't checked it so for a long time. Yeah. So, how the general day of a security director in a company looks like? Could you share some
Yeah, it's a lot
some
of
cool cases from your day to day routine?
yeah, it's a lot of like assessing like you have to try to evaluate your security posture in some way, and
Sorry,
it's not
I can't
always.
hear you. One moment.
Oh yeah.
I have some technical issues. AirPods. We can continue without that. So we're back. My last question was how the general day of IT security director in the uh, West Coast company looks like.
Yeah, it's fun in a different way. So a lot of my time is spent assessing our security posture. So just trying to understand like where our weak points are, or like how can a hacker get to us realistically. I think a lot of companies just buy a bunch of security products and stack them on top of each other and hope for the best. We try to take a different approach. We try to look at it from an attacker's perspective. So we have internal red team. And I also have an offensive mindset, so we tend to look at it from that perspective. Like, okay, how does a hacker see us? Where's our weakest points? And then we plan from there. We apply whatever tools and things that we need protections from there. So a lot of my time is just spent prioritizing, like, okay, what's the next security tool, control, whatever that we need to apply next. And the whole stack. So it's like it could be the humans like clicking on phishing links or whatever. It could be it could be email. It could be like web application firewall. Like really anything. You have to try to understand the whole picture. And there's some things in security that are kind of on the edge that are like people trying to do fraud. There's like a lot of like fraud out there right now. There's a lot of areas that are maybe technically not, some people might not consider that security, but I think it's any sort of risk that's out there, or just trying to understand like, and it's the same thing. It's like, okay, how does if someone's doing a scam, like how do they see us? Like how are you going to try to make money off of some company, right? And we always look at it from that perspective and then try to figure out how to protect against it. Basically, that's just what I do every day.
Uh, what do you think? Is there any difference between securing the organization with 100 employees and 1,000 employees from your point of view?
Yeah, so my company that I work at is pretty small. It's like a couple hundred employees, and there are other companies that do similar business, that have thousands of employees. And I think the advantage of being smaller is you have, I don't know, it's just like imagine a meeting with 20 people compared to a meeting with three people. The meeting with 20 people is going to take much longer. It's going to take 5 times as long because everyone wants to say something. There's just too many people involved. I feel like it's hard to get stuff done when like too many people have an opinion about something. Uh, Sometimes you just need to try one thing and then just go for it. And so I think being leaner, and I think it's more important to have the right people, like people that are motivated, people that have a similar mindset, technical ability. You have a small number of those people instead of just stacking as many people as possible. Each time you add someone, it adds like some inefficiency because you now all these people have to talk to each other. You got to have meetings. I really hate meetings, and I know that's weird coming from like a director, but I try to limit meetings as much as possible.
And do you have any success in it? Because I'm also managing a team, development team, and security
Yeah,
team, and sometimes I think that I'm working in a call center. Like I
yeah.
have, have so many calls during the day. It's exhausting.
I don't know. I just if I see a meeting, I always tell people just because you're invited to a meeting doesn't mean you have to go to it. So like just if you don't know what the meeting is, ask what it's about, and then if you feel if there's like any doubt that it's useful, then just don't go. That's my opinion anyways. And if I see other people wasting time with a meeting, I'm like, okay, do you guys need to have that meeting? Maybe, or does 10 people need to be at that meeting? We just kick out half the people out of that meeting.
Yeah, like Jeff Bezos said, you should have two pizzas team, and this is enough to be productive. Yeah, don't need to have meetings for 20 people or something like that.
I think sometimes human beings are like herd animals that want to stick together. Like they want to be in a big group. They feel safer or something. Like I think that happens with meetings. Like people just want to have this big meeting, and I'm like, no, you don't need to do that. Like just let's get three people together and get something done.
Yeah, if you want to be productive, yeah, let's focus on some things and razors and talk, just talk with everyone.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so, do you have any corporate education program for security? Like, I mean, for non-technical people, because some companies invest in it, some don't really believe and think that everything should be covered by security team, and this is more than enough.
Oh, you mean for like other people in the company?
Yeah. Like for non-technical, like for financial team, for marketing team, or something like that.
Yeah. We do some of it's like software, so we'll use like we use like phishing simulation
Simulation. Yeah.
things. So if someone clicks on it, that we there's a like a little bit of education, but we also do like custom education. So we'll at like an all hands, we'll whatever the latest type of attack is, we'll just explain what the attack is. At a high level, not technical, but
Yeah.
like okay, um, like so what's happening recently? There is there's a pretty common attack right now, which is like job fraud, where people will basically
Yeah.
apply for your company, but they're not actually they're not actually trying to work at your company. And so there's stuff like that where you want to talk about it, explain like what the latest cybersecurity news is out there, or the latest threats. And I think people understand much more about cybersecurity now than they used to. Like I feel like if you tried to explain like a breach or an attack or something, 10 years ago, people wouldn't understand it. But it seems like everyone has like a baseline understanding these days because there's just so many breaches.
Yeah. And you mentioned that job fraud, and they evolving. Like few months ago, it was just like, okay, they were hiring like technical experts from other companies like HR agency or something like that, sharing the test, like test task, just solve it. People download a malware, compile it or something like that, and got exploited. Yeah, this was a one way. After that, they started communicating with famous HR agencies or recruiting agencies, sharing that with them those test tasks. And since the ex-employee or employee know this recruiting agency, they believe more into that. Yeah, and again downloading the malware and compiling it. And now even, yeah, with that fraud job, I seen attack vectors when people did a test task for your company when you hiring, and sharing exploit to you back. Like so many interesting
Wild.
stuff is going on right now.
Yeah, that's wild. Like sometimes the weak point is just the front door. You just work there.
Yeah. And maybe some of your employees can even be that bad player who trying to exploit your company as an insider,
Yeah.
and you
I
can't
haven't
even know about it.
I haven't seen it, but I've read about that there are like people that will like get bribed. They'll like I don't remember what I think it's called, like I think it's called like ransomware affiliate or something like that. But basically, like you, the ransomware gang will pay just a normal employee, like basically bribe them to install the malware. So like this person didn't infiltrate the organization, like they were a normal good guy, and then they just enough money waved in front of them, and
Yeah,
they're gonna do it. Like I don't know how common that is, but that's a scary thought because people
yeah.
need money. So
In crypto we had a crazy story few months ago. Like the one company got hacked by employee who was actually the North Korean hacker who was
wow.
working in a company for half a year, and in one day they just shared access to private keys with him because okay, we know you, we worked together for half a year and something, and instantly in that day they they lost everything.
Oh
Like
my
it's
god.
really sad, yeah. So even people who you trust with whom you work for long time, because yeah, because the stake is pretty huge, and
Yeah.
those North Korean hackers are ready to spend even a lot of time, yeah,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
So yeah,
That's wild.
okay.
That sounds like a movie or something.
Yeah, but it is what it is. That's why I really like cybersecurity industry. I do
Yeah.
believe that this is one of the most romantic place to work. Like
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
so many funny things and
Yeah.
crazy things going on here, and it's exactly like in movies, 100%.
Yeah. It never stops being fun for me. Like I think some not cybersecurity people, it scares them. Like it sounds stressful or something. Like, oh, it's so scary. But I don't know, for me it's so fun.
Yeah, 100%. So okay, let's get back a bit to AI tools. I was wondering if you seen any AI tools which you think are useful for general security researcher in daily routine. Maybe you've seen something or heard about something like that. Or do you
Yeah, I
use
don't
any tools for your researchers?
I do. I just write my own custom tools. I haven't used them, but so essentially there's a bunch of tools out there. I might release a version of mine, but they all kind of do the same thing. You can also um, yeah, there's lots of so there's the researchers use what is that called? I don't remember what it's called, but basically the researchers also use a similar tool, but there's a couple AI red team tools out there on GitHub that are popular that I don't remember the names, but um, they basically will send a lot of requests and
Hmm.
then do some sort of grading on the other side. So um, you send a bunch of requests, you grade the responses. So you say, okay, this is a harmful response or something, right? So
Oh, yeah.
and then you do like a statistical analysis. So you say like, okay, 90% of the requests had a harmful output. Um, and they all the tools basically my understanding is they do some version of that. So the tool that my custom tools are basically what you want to do is instead of worrying about the web interface for like ChatGPT, for example, you just want to make API requests because it's much
Yeah.
faster. So I basically will give it either a list of prompts or um, some way to fuzz it, and then you repeat each request a certain number of times. So like I'll usually do like at least 10 per each one because even the same prompt can have a different output. So you want to be able to because the LLMs don't respond the same all the time.
Yeah.
Um, there's a setting with the LLMs called temperature. So if the temperature is zero, it will always respond the same. So if you have the temperature higher, then you get like more variations.
Hmm.
Uh, and for AI red teaming, I like to have it a little bit higher because I want to see. Yeah, I'm trying to break it, so I'm trying to see like
Yeah.
the edge cases. Yeah, and then you just send like 1,000 requests, and then you see what comes out. Um, but that's more once you have a really good prompt. You still need to do like manual testing to like generate the original like strategy and you can actually use an LM to do that too. But I feel like they're better at like the fuzzing part of it, like getting variations of a strategy, but they're not that good at coming up with the strategy. Like I feel like the human right now has to come up with like the actual attack, and if you're coming up with like a completely new type of attack, um, that has to come from humans right now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, yeah. Have you heard about Pentest GPT? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
It was famous like 1 year ago, but after that, I heard nothing about them.
I think there's a couple companies that do something similar now. Um, yeah, I back then I created a tool that did like JavaScript analysis to try
Hmm.
to look for vulnerabilities, and it worked. If you gave it something that was obviously vulnerable, it would catch it 100% of the time.
Hmm.
But if you give it random JavaScript, it'll just hallucinate way too much. I was like, it wasn't worth it. But I feel like it's possible. Like it's technically possible that an LLM could find vulnerabilities. I just either you have to get really creative with the implementation or you have to wait till better models come out. Like I don't know. It seems hard.
Yeah, especially if we are talking about code review. Yeah, what GitHub did with their Copilot, they have a huge code base of good coding practice from their database, and they really can train it to be useful for devs. Not sure that they can cover 100% of bad coding practices, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, what I mean is that the humans still need to verify all changes, because we can't trust it fully, never.
Yeah. I think
Because we will have a
vulnerabilities are
fight.
I think vulnerabilities are harder though for the LLMs. Like it's their because I think by nature the vulnerability is an edge case. It's like weird behavior, and I think the LLMs still need like a bit more improvements till they can like fully, you know, understand that. And then like they just keep whenever they see like a small snippet of code that looks slightly sus, they'll just say it's a vulnerability. It's I don't know. They seem to err on the side of like, okay, this is a vulnerability. I'm like, that is not a vulnerability.
It's okay. Yeah. You mentioned that you're developing some tools by your own. Can you share anything, or it's non-disclosing
for
information?
for AI
Yeah.
AI hacking stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just like what I said. So it basically I basically run I just it just does API requests as quickly as possible and is whatever iterations I want to do, and then I create a grading system. So it basically, um, so there's two methods. You can a lot of the time I'll just look for, so I'll give it a list of keywords and say, okay, if these bad words are in the response, like
Uh-huh.
whatever percentage of these bad words are in the response, consider that if it's above a certain threshold, like consider that a bad prompt or like a success, I guess, for red teaming. That's essentially what I do now. You can also do it with an LLM. I don't do it that way right now, but you can also have like an LLM do the grading.
Mhm.
Um, but right now, so what I do is I create uh, whatever type of response I'm trying to get. I'll first get an uncensored version of that. So I'll either use an uncensored model, like an open source model, so that
Mhm.
people will, um, they'll take like Llama, for example, and then they'll modify it so that all the guardrails are gone. So
Yeah.
you can just use it, it will just answer anything. So you can ask it a question like, how do you make crystal meth or something like that, right? And then it will just immediately tell you like step by step. And then you get that response. Oh, I know so much about so many things that I never knew before just from AI red teaming because I have to like analyze the responses.
Yeah.
That part of it's really funny, but yeah, you basically look at the uncensored response, try to understand like okay, what makes this dangerous, and then put all of that into the grading system. So then and you can automatically when you test a real model that has protections on it, you can grade how dangerous the response is because the more specific the response is, the more dangerous it is. If it's really vague, like it sounds like just like a generic like summary or something, then that's not dangerous. You have to figure out some way to grade it, basically.
Yeah, how to how sensitive, yeah, or how dangerous that information is. Uh, based on your experience, can you share some best practices for securing AI systems? Like, what do you usually recommend? Okay, this dude sharing the info about bombs and drugs. Shouldn't be like that.
Yeah. So it depends. So it depends on if you're an organization that's just using someone else's model, and then with an API, like you
Mhm,
have your chatbot, but it's actually OpenAI's model. That's one scenario. The other scenario is you actually are running your own model.
mhm.
Um, I think in both cases, you definitely want to do some sort of red teaming. Like that's like number one. Like you don't know how dangerous it is until you actually like use offensive security. Um, so in the case of like, okay, you're a company, you have a chatbot, it's integration with some other model. Um, that's where the prompt injections come in. So the jailbreaks, like what I'm talking about with like, okay, it's going to tell you how to make illicit drugs or whatever. That might not be a big deal for some businesses because they can just say, well, yeah, that looks weird, but the user is purposely doing that, and yeah, we're just using someone else's model. Like maybe they just accept that risk, right? Like
Mhm.
maybe they don't, but if they, some companies it's fine.
Yeah, depends on
Um,
their business model or what they do as a business. Yeah.
yeah, if they really care about that, there's a couple things you can do. You can try to make your prompt like the system prompt. You can try to use that to protect it. So you can use phrases like uh, don't don't say any don't like you can tell it what like give it a very specific role and tell it not to go outside of that. Or you can like I had an idea, or it's not my original idea, but I had created a version of like a prompt firewall early on, so you could like put in your
Like
system prompt.
like blacklist of sensitive topics or something, or yeah.
Yeah, that's one approach, like the negative prompt. The other approach is like you could have a like a firewall so that it says um, ignore like you have a unique string or something like a divider, and it says anything the user's prompt is below this line, the system prompt's above it, like don't like give it like a hierarchy essentially,
Oh.
so that the user prompt doesn't like inject into the system prompt. I thought that was a good idea at the time. That was like early on. Now that I've done a lot of AI red teaming, I've found out that that doesn't really work. Like these models don't respect that divider that much because you can just be like, okay, well, ignore the divider or something. Like so like it's like a little kid that or like a just it's like someone that's like easily tricked. Like you could just talk them into it. So those techniques don't work as well as I used to think. But that's one approach. Another approach is like use a model that is harder to do the bad thing that you don't want. So uh, I would say Anthropic Claude is one of the safest models right now.
Mhm.
It's very, very hard to make it do something that it does not want to do. Like it's the company Anthropic as a company, they've really focused on safety and preventing these sorts of issues. So like you could just use an Anthropic model, for example. I think that will do a lot of it. And so I'm on the Anthropic bug bounty program. So they're one of the I'd say they're one of the biggest AI like jailbreak or AI red team type programs out there right now. It's called Anthropic Safety, and I think it started like a couple months ago, and they pay up to 15,000 for like a full jailbreak.
Oh.
Uh, and yeah, I've been working on them for a while, and they are like they are very good on safety.
Is it a public program or a private one?
So it's publicly known, but you have to submit a form to like
Uh-huh.
apply to get in. Um, But yeah, that's basically how it works. But yeah, they don't hide the fact that there's a program, and they um, yeah, in their like news article they explain like some of the details, but there's like other hidden details like in the private program.
I see. Uh, how do you see the future of AI and AI hacking in general?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Like I've been thinking about that a lot recently, because it's so brand new right now with like Mozilla, Odin's bug bounty program, and the Anthropic one. I think those two programs are proving that there's some value here. Like they exist because of a need. Like they're a reaction to a need, um, and so I think this is just the beginning, and the models are getting so much better every day. Like I can't even keep up with the news this last week. Like OpenAI released like four
Yeah,
different features, like video, and video can be hacked too. Like all these things can be hacked differently. So they're new modalities, and just the models improving is make and on top of that, every company is trying to integrate with these models. So you have all these situations where you can have cybersecurity issues, you can have safety issues. So I think it's going to increase. It's hard to tell because I think there's two ways it could play out. One way is everyone in the world just agrees it's so hard to protect these models. Like they're gonna say crazy things sometimes, and we're just gonna accept that. Like that might happen. It doesn't seem like it's going that way. It seems like it's going the other way. It seems like everyone is really concerned about it, and that people are just gonna invest more and more into trying to protect these models. And then I think the AI red teaming is just like an obvious step. um, a lot of the AI red teamers seem to be like researchers and things up until this point. I think it's only recently that more cybersecurity people have gotten involved. I think it's a really good area for hackers because hackers know how to bypass systems, and I don't think the system matters. Like I think that like even like normal web pen tester type hackers can also hack AI systems. Like and there's also there's a crossover point too. So there's like prompt injections that like I found a prompt injection one time where it would so you could trick the model into saying a cross-site scripting payload, and then
mhm,
it would then store that, and then the version of that feature that didn't have the LLM didn't trust user input, so you couldn't get cross-site scripting. But when the LLM came in, the devs are saying, "Oh, I trust that output because
mhm.
it's coming from our system."
Yeah,
But not you really can't trust the LLM because the LLM is so easily suggestible. So so then there was a stored cross-site scripting that resulted from a prompt injection. So like I think that kind of thing companies are going to have to do red teaming on to discover. And my suggestion to devs is do not trust your LLM. Like it's in your infrastructure, but it's basically user input. Don't trust it.
yeah. It's not the source of truth. Yeah, it's just a
Yes.
companion, or your copilot. Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it seems like we are out of our questions for today. So do you have any final thoughts which you would like to share with our listeners and people who really want to start in AI bug bounty hunting in
Uh,
2023?
yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great talking to you. Great getting to know you. And yeah, so in general, to get into hacking, the number one thing is to hack. People want to just read stuff and get certifications and do, whatever. They want like the secret code to be able to get a bounty, but there is no secret code. You just have to hack. You have to hack a lot. Like just hack every day. That's my number one tip. And yeah, it's the same in AI red teaming. So just I would say talk to the models as much as you can. Like just say all sorts of crazy things, see what comes back, and then that will help you understand like how the model thinks about things and how it responds. Even like subtle, changing one word, like what happens, and try to understand um, how the model thinks and how the moderation layers are looking at what you're saying, and then start trying to attack that. And I might release a blog or something on Medium at some point. So yeah, keep your eye out for that. TalkSec on Twitter /X, TAKSEC. And then even if I post on Medium, I usually link it there. So yeah,
Yeah.
follow my stuff. I basically, my rule is if I do a hack and it works, I will just post it on Twitter. Like I'm not shy of, like, I don't like hiding stuff. Like, it's more fun to share it. I feel like most of the stuff that I do is just a modification of something someone else did. Like, it's not completely brand new. But I think AI red teaming is a new area. So yeah, if you're interested in that, come follow me. I will post some stuff, I promise. And yeah, talk to all the frontier models. Join Mozilla Odin. It's a really fun program. The guys over there that run it, Marco Figueroa. He's a good guy, and they really support the researchers over there. And then also apply for the Anthropic program if you're interested in that. And yeah, just talk to the models and hack every day.
Yeah, we will attach all links in the below the video. So as Mike said, sharing is caring. Yeah. So it was Mike Takahashi at Hack and Proof Security Podcast. See you in next episodes, guys. Bye bye.